Hello everyone, how are you all doing? Welcome back to a new class which will be on how to make a scallop box top, which is a crop top, and a flared short. So it could be a short, 3/4 or long trouser, right? But I'll look for a way to squeeze this video into just one video. If not, the flared trouser is going to be the next video, so you watch the next video, but I'll see how I can do that. Okay, so now I'll be making use of this beautiful Ankara fabric. It is 4 yards, right? And then the top is going to be fully lined, so I got a matching lining with it. Okay, now I'm supposed to do everything on the fabric, but I don't want the situation whereby it's going to be, so you won't see some part and all that. So I'll make it on the paper, but when you're making yours, just do everything on your fabric, right? Good. So this is a basic sleeve I already have. The first thing is to get the length of your box top. Okay, so for me, I'm a plus size. Yours could be like 17, 18. Okay, but even for me, I can do 19, but I'll be doing 20 inches. Now I will need seam allowance of 1/2 inch at the shoulder and seam allowance of 1/2 inch at the hem. So that sum totals everything to 22, but actually the length of my crop top is 20 inches. Good. Yeah, then you will need your half of your armhole, which is your bust measurement divided by 6 plus 1.5. So mine is 9 inches, but because I'm including on my seam allowance, so I need 1/2 inch for the shoulder. So my half of my shoulder, half of my armhole measurement will now be 9.5, which is this line. So that is all you need: your shoulder line, bust line, and then the waist line. Good. The first thing you want to do now is to insert your shoulder measurements. My shoulder measurement is 17, so half of that is going to be 8.5. But this box top, it needs to be relaxed around your shoulder, so I'm going to add 1/2 inch seam allowance to that to make it 9 inches. This is 9. Good. So for the shoulder slope, I'm just going to come down by 3/4 of an inch or 0.75, because it is a loose top. Then you measure 3 inches here. So you're as good as done. Then the next thing is your bust circumference. My bust circumference is 44, 45. Okay, so I can make that like 46, 47, 48, because it is a free top, so it depends on your preference. So if I make it like 40, 48, that's going to be 12. If I make it 46, that will be 11.5. So maybe I should just do 11.5. Then you will need 1 inch for side seam allowance. That's going to be 12.5. Okay, so the same thing you impute here, you impute on the waist, which is also 11.5 and 12.5. That's done. So for the armhole, because we are cutting the back and the front together. So for the front, just come up by 2.5 to 3 inches. So for the front, you come in by just 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch, and then you form your armhole. Then the back will just be from here straight there. So this is the back and this is the front. That is as good as that. Then you can add zipper if you want to the back, but this is not going to have a zipper. So all I have to do is, if you are a small size, just maintain this 3 inches or make it 3.5 by 4. Okay, so for me, I will just make it, I think 3.5 to 3.5 by 4.5 or 5, because it has to be able to pass through my head. So let me just make it 4.5. Good. So that is for the front. So the back, I'm just going to come down by 1 inch. Or I could even make it 1.5 because we've already added the 1.5 inch seam allowance to the measurement. So this is as good as done. So all we have to do now is to cut it out, make the scallop, then cut it all out. Then another thing I just like to make for my box top is, you see, for the back, I'm just going to add extra 1/2 inch to that, so that comes into the front, so it kind of balance up the top. Okay, you could ignore that, okay, if you want, but that would be only for the back, so it comes into the front. Good. Now for the scallop, so all I'm going to do now is to come up by 1.5. Okay, so 1.5, 1.5. Okay, because this is the seam allowance, or we could just take it to the end. Good. So what we have here is 12.5. So you can decide how much scallop you want to have. Yours could be smaller and yours could be very big. I don't like it too small, so I'll do it there about 4 inches. So this is about 12.5. So let's say 12 divided by 4, that will give me 3. So I'll just mark 4 inches from the beginning, 4 inches here, another 4 inches, another 4 inches. Good. So I could just take, I will have to transfer the same 4 inches to the lower line, that is the hem. So remember, we divided the into 4 inches 3 times. Then I'll now have to go to the upper line and then get the midpoint of the 4 inches each. So we'll now have it all divided into 2 inches all through. Okay, once that is done, then I'll have to get my armhole curve, place it on the first 2 inches, that is the midpoint, and then connect straight to the center front. That is how you make the first scallop diagram. Then you take from that same 2 inches, the midpoint, and take to the 4 inches below. So that is how you form the perfect curves. So the armhole is of great help. So you keep taking it all through by connecting it. And then the last one. So this is how you keep going. Now once this is done, I will just have to cut it all out. The next thing is to place this pattern on my folded fabric and cut it all out. So we've used that pattern to cut out the front. So I cut the lining along. So this is what we have for the back. So you can see what the scallop looks like. So that is done. So it will be on fold. The next thing is for us to trim off the back, then cut out the front. So I'm going to place it and then cut out the front, also on fold. Now let's quickly work with the sleeve. So the sleeve here, for the sleeve opening, I had more than my usual sleeve opening. Usually I use 13 because the length of the sleeve is 10 inches. So plus seam allowance, I made it 11.5. So usually I use about 13, but here I'm using 16, okay, because it has to be loose. Once that is done, the next thing I did is to measure what I have here. So here I have about 8.5, total of 9.5. So all I just did is to divide this into 3 inches each. So this 3 inches, 3 inches, and this is less than, which is okay. The next thing I will do is, since I have 3 inches here, I'm just going to do half of that, which is 1.5. So this is 1.5. Then I'll go with 3. Then another. So the first one comes this way. So here I came up by 1.5. I don't know if I've said that from the actual length, 1.5, before dividing it up. And then this goes this way. So then I'm going to cut it and also cut it out. I've cut out the front too, together with the lining. So all we have to do now is, so even the sleeve. So for the sleeve, I'm now opening it up. And then I will now have to trim off the fronts. So this is the front, so I'm trimming this off. So if you watch my video on how to make sleeve, you will know that. So I'm going to do that to the sleeve. So now to the front, this is what it looks like. This is the wrong side. So I'll make sure it matches each other this way. And then I'm going to sew half an inch, half an inch, half an inch, half an inch all through. Make sure it is sharp around these points because they V. Then you come to the neck region. I'm going to sew up the neckline. So I'm going to do the same thing to the back. This is the back. So the same thing to the back. For the sleeve, I'm going to do the same thing. This is the wrong side. So right side facing each other, and I'll also sew up the scallop region. Sewn the fabrics together. For instance, this is the sleeve, okay? So I've turned it to the right side. This is what it looks like, and I've not ironed it. So I'm going to give it a good press. Then the next thing you have to do is this. This is the wrong side. This is the right side. Just open it up this way, match it like this, and sew in 1/8, because that was what we left for seam allowance, from the lining straight to the main fabric, then bring it all out. So now to the main fabric. So this is what it looks like. For instance, this is the back. I've sewn half an inch all through, okay? And then the neckline, please make sure you notch. That is very important, or it won't lay well. So, and bring it all out. So as you can see, so the neckline also has been done and well ironed. Please make sure you iron it out. Then at times I just use my needle to bring it out on the side, or else you won't have that circular shape, okay? So the next thing you want to do is to make sure right side are facing each other. Then we sew up the side. You do that first before the shoulder, it will be easier. So match it up this way. So you just pick it up, just as I explained. The sleeve is the same thing. So this is it. We are now on the wrong side. So you are going to sew in 1 inch. That was what we left. So 1 inch here. Then you continue on the lining. 1 inch. You also sew the side. Once that is done, then you can now come to the shoulder line. So open it up this way. Also open the other one. Let it match at the neck region this way. Then start sewing from the main fabric to the lining. That is all. So the sleeve, and this is what you are going to have. So guys, the top is as good as ready. So I've torn everything on the side. Can you see the inside how it looks like? Everything is just as neat. Okay, so I brought out everything from the armhole area because that is still open. So once that is done, the next thing I did is to just attach the sleeve to it. So after attaching the sleeve, let me turn to the wrong side. Then all you have to do next is to overlock it with a matching thread. So this is it. So the inside is neat just as the outside. Can you see? So what I'll do next is to overlock with a matching thread. So I'm just going to fix the other sleeve and then I'll show you how it looks on me. So guys, this is a scallop box top and you can see how beautiful it looks. I'm sure you like it, isn't it? So please make sure you share, like and subscribe if you are not, and turn on your notification because you're going to be making a pants for this top and you don't want to miss it and you know it's going to be beautiful. So guys, bye.